Oh, don't see that.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Estates Management Committee. And let's push on to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is apologies absence. We haven't actually received any, but obviously Councillor Gray is not here yet. She may arrive late, but we'll just note that she's not here at this stage, perhaps. Second item, 201, declarations of interest. Receive and consider any declarations of interest from members under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000. First of all, any disclosable pecuniary interests. To declare any other interests. I'm looking at you, Councillor Clark. Do you need to declare an interest in relation to the tree in your garden?
Oh, well, that's not on the agenda.
Well, no, I just didn't do it.
I've got a tree in my garden.
It may be that it might be raised on that AOP or something. Got it. Okay. Right, let's move on then to the next agenda item, which is 202, representatives from interesting parties. There are none. So that takes us conveniently on to minutes of the previous meeting. This is the meeting which was held on the 7th of January. You've all been sent a copy of those minutes. Are you happy that they are correct record and that I can sign them off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a proposer, Val, seconder? Councillor Clark, all in favour? Thank you. Can I get retrieved the pen by that pen? And I will quickly do that. And then we can move on. Let's see, 4th today. Thank you. So, we're now moving on to the reports. I'm just going to open up the usual document that we get from Lisa, the properties report. The first thing is on the agenda is 24, 24, that's right in the first place, 2401, to receive the I&E report from the properties and open spaces. This has been circulated in the board of spreadsheet. Are we happy to receive that? Does anyone want to raise any comments in relation to it? We don't need to take any action other than note that we have received it. So, yeah, we're happy with that. If we then move on to the next report, which is 2402, which is the monthly properties and ocean stations update report. We'll obviously come back to issues on that as we work through the agenda. But again, just to know that we've received it, is everybody happy having received that report? And the third, 2403, the 3 to 5 year maintenance, again, that is something that gets updated and is in the Teams document. I'm going to pause there. I mean, I know we received this and it's not circulated as such, it's a document in Teams. I do wonder whether it would be helpful possibly at the next meeting or a meeting before the end of this financial year, which will become fairly soon, if we actually take it out of Teams and formally put it on the agenda. We might just want to go through and calibrate it with other things on the agenda. So if we could make a note for that, maybe, if not the next meeting, the meeting after that, certainly before we go into the new financial year.
So you want
Just
to add in
about-
as an icon like
Yeah.
these ones in the report rather than.
I think so, yeah, something like that. It'll just prompt people to, so that we have a proper look at it.
Yeah.
The danger is that we just pass over it quite quickly. Okay, thank you for that. In which case then, the next set of issues are to do with Blethley House. This is agenda item 25. The first one is to receive the quote for the refelting of the south elevation and decide next steps. Again, we received this, I remember seeing it somewhere. I can't remember if it's a Word or a
It's on the screen now.
PDF.
There, Max.
Oh, you've got it up there too. Yeah, let me just find it so I don't need to look on the big screen.
Yes.
I've got it here somewhere. No, not that one.
You should be able to click on it in the agenda because I've
Yeah.
had the links there.
I don't want that one either. Not that one. Not that one. Must be a Word document. This looks like it.
Called flat.
This is for rotation. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
No, that's not the one. That's the next one, isn't it? No, it is the one. There's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah. So just to make sure we're all looking at the same document, it's got seal approved roofing. It's dated the 8th of the 1st. And you will see, you can see it on the big screen as well. If you look down to the bottom, it's basically $3.5 grand, including VAT. Sorry, I missed the.
That's nothing wrong with that, is it?
It'd be lovely to work with. Let me just clean my glass.
Took all the lights.
Yeah, 35 grand. Where do we start with this? An awful lot of work. Clearly beyond our budgetary powers, even at 3.5. We've received it and we've got to decide next steps. Councillor Clark.
I must admit, when I saw the state of the felt in the summer, knowing what it takes to take tiles off and the scaffold and all that, I thought it would be a lot more. So on the one hand, that's good news. My understanding is that the roof could have been like that for 20 years. It might be like it for another 20 years, it might be fine. But the general view is if we don't have a membrane, particularly a breathable one, we could get leaks and then it could get worse. So I suppose one option is to do nothing. Another option is to do something. A bonus might be that we could get guttering and fascia boards done, which we talked about for a couple of years, because we've always got domestic guttering on.
Yeah.
These are the guys that gave us the quote for the proper full-size guttering a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That quote has been slipped in the folder as well today.
Yeah.
And that is,
And a lot of this quoted the scaffolding, etc. Anyway. Yeah.
but it is literally just that section, remember? The bit
That's
for
right.
the re-roofing, it's just that guttering because we said we'd do it in sections.
But the end, the big thing for me is if we don't do it, we can't put solar panels on the roof. And if we do, we can't put solar panels on the roof. So that's probably the bigger question.
As you rightly say, Ian, part of this is also related to plans for solar panels as well. And we can't really do that until we've done this. Although it could be, again, we could hopefully cut some costs of solar panels, given that a large proportion of this, although it's not independently costed, clearly we'll be erecting or hiring the scaffolding, erecting the scaffolding, and take the scaffolding away. That will be a significant element of it. So the more work that we can do with the scaffolding there, seems to me that it would make sense to think of it as a overall job. Because if we are going to have solar panels on the roof, they're going to have to put the scaffolding up as well. Good point. So, as I said before, I mean, this is not within the current budget, nor is it within our spending powers. So, in terms of deciding next steps, it's whether or not we refer this to full council effectively. And full council, you know, I think we do need to link it to, as I say, the possibility of solar panels as well, so that we actually see these as two jobs rather than one. Well, two jobs simultaneously or in parallel rather than one. Ian, back to you.
Sorry, I'm going to talk to myself again. Well, maybe the best solar quote we had was 28 grand from a local supplier with a battery. Is it worth us as a group deciding if we think we should take another step of talking to CEO and saying, can you put the scaffolding up? Can you do the guttering and the fascia board at the same time? Talk to the solar supplier and say, can you work with them and get that big number?
That's kind of what I was heading towards, is that if we can package this up so that work can be done in parallel or probably serial rather than parallel, so that we only pay for one lot of scaffolding whilst they're doing the felting, etc., we then sort out gutters at the same time and hopefully install solar panels. And hopefully, I'm guessing we might be able to knock 10 or so grand off the overall bill by doing that. That'd be good.
The roofing company, if you put solar panels on top of it just after they've installed it, we have to check that their guarantee for the roof is still valid. Because obviously we're putting stuff on top of the new roof, so I think that's quite important. And I think, as you say, if this is something to go forward, maybe not this year, we plan for it in the long, the next couple of years, that we look at everything that needs doing on that side, whether the windows, anything, like scaffolding.
And did the solar panel decision depend on the decision around the EV chargers? Are those two elements linked as well?
Not directly. We did look at getting one installer for both. They came in competitively on the chargers, but not very competitively on the roof. But again, we could go back and ask them, what their view is.
Any other comments that people want to raise? If not, what I'm going to propose in terms of the next steps is that we then take this forward with full council, but propose that we, I'm going to actually reverse that. Should we, before it goes to full council, approach the other parties to see if we could get a package together, which we then take to full council? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that needs a proposal or seconder.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, so Matt's proposed, Val second.
I think I'm proposing it,
Yeah.
I'll second it. Yes, all those in favour? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much. The next item is to approve the cost to install a dedicated socket, platform rooms to allow for pack testing carried out safely. This again, there's a quote in our pack, trying to remember exactly where it is. I think it's that one there. Yeah, portable appliance socket. It's from RG and MX Sadler. Are you putting it up on the screen as well, Lisa? Not a lot of money. 233. I've got decimal point in the right place this time, hopefully. Plus VAT, so that's going to take it up to, I can't do the maths, but about 260-ish. Bit more than that actually, more than 275. I mean, it seems that this is a necessity for all sorts of reasons. It will presumably help us in terms of pack testing moving forward. So it seems a bit like a no-brainer to me. Councillor Clark.
I think it probably does, but just why?
So
Why does it need that?
one of the volunteers that was involved in the repair cafe is a retired electrician.
Mhm.
And he just said he was a bit concerned because of the size of the building. If you test a faulty item, obviously it can trip. And he just said, really, if you're going to do this as a regular thing, ideally you want something that's dedicated just to that and sensitive enough to identify smaller problems and everything. So then I went to Sadler's to ask their opinion. He said, it's not essential, but given your equipment and the nature of your stuff that you store, he said probably a good idea. So he sort of concurred. He
So
didn't
it's
say it's absolutely
protect.
necessary. Protect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it just a breaker they're putting in there?
Yeah, it's a more sensitive
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of thing, and it's independent to any of this. So if it did blow something,
Yeah.
none of
So-
our equipment would be.
You can buy extension cables, can't you, with that breaker system on?
You
Which
can
then
do, but this-
protect the system, but.
my understanding is that this will be an isolated socket for
Be a socket
testing
fitted,
only.
hardwired, yeah.
And what it means is it will give you a much more accurate
Okay.
reading for that testing than just plugging it into
Yeah.
anywhere else, because you don't know how that's.
And if you say the word extension cables to electricians,
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
like those. So,
I think
Hmm.
all things considered, given that it's a relatively small amount of money, I'm happy to propose it.
Yeah.
It looks like this is seconding it.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Yeah. Yeah. Jeremy? No?
Yeah.
No, you're not happy, you're not happy. Don't have to be.
Can I abstain?
You can do. So not quite all in favour, it's still carried. I think it, just to stop and note, I mean, if people really aren't happy, then, do feel free to abstain or,
So I'll explain. So the reason I'm abstaining is because recently in my work, we've got a portable one of these,
yeah.
for testing small electrical items in a truck. Well, that's not much more than that amount that we're quoted, and that wouldn't,
So this is a portable device.
yeah.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is that there may be a better option?
so if you plug it in,
No, it's charged and it's battery, so it's got its own inbuilt rechargeable
so
battery.
it's portable.
Yeah,
So when you're plugging something to test into it, it's not actually connected to anywhere else in the building. Okay.
Which is the key thing.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, I think that's a very important intervention, if I may say so.
Yeah.
Because if we have a standalone device,
Yeah.
they could take it down to the workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could take it to any of our other properties, QVH, there's back testing issues there with equipment, and so on and so forth. That seems to me a much better idea.
Essentially as well, we've just had a company in pack test all of our portable bits every year. So they've just been and done it, they do it on the QVH, the courthouse here, used to be the still is the workshop and the workshop here. So essentially, if we got one of those, we could technically do all our own pack testing.
Right, in which case then, let's revisit that. Thank you very much for that intervention. And survey that we have not approved costs, but recommend that we get costs for standalone device.
Yeah.
And maybe, Jamie, if you could supply
Yeah.
details of what you've recently purchased
Yeah.
for the shop, then that might help us to move forward, particularly if there's very little price difference, which is what you.
and my understanding is not much more than that, so.
Okay, well, thank you for that. That's actually very helpful. And also, sorry, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Does Lisa, or is Lisa able to tell us what we pay for that every year? Somebody coming and do it, because that's a saving, should be significant saving.
Are we able to legally pack test items?
I think we
Yes,
have to get,
Yeah, we are.
we have to get, I think you have to pass some sort of,
You have to do
you have to do a
a
test.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
course.
yeah, but intending to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I bet they're still doing it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
At the university.
£387.78.
Right,
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good, that's a saving, isn't it?
but that's to test, he tested 281 appliances,
Whoa.
this time, so.
So, and hopefully we can reduce some other costs moving forwards as well.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, let's move forward then with that proposal. Sorry, in which case then, do I need to re-propose that?
Yeah, so
So we're now,
you
I'm now
propose again.
proposing that we get a quote for an independent standalone unit. I'm assuming you're going to second that, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of those in favour? Yeah, thank you.
And I'll send you a picture.
That's
Okay.
great.
All right.
So, let's move on. The next one is 03, which is to approve the quote to carry out repairs to the lift at Fletton House. Let me just get rid of that one.
It's on the screen if you want
That
to.
one. Again, I did take a bit of breath when I saw this one. Where is it? I think it's PDF, isn't it? Oh, what's happened there? Well, I can't see it now. Not that one, not that one, not that one. None of those. I had it earlier on. Oh, there we go, lift quote. There it is. Too many documents open. So, this is a very fancy quotation, lots of logos at the front. And this is altogether £1,050 plus VAT. Again, I'm going to, obviously you can see the different elements to it are itemised within the quotation. My question really is how necessary and important is this work?
The light is important,
Yeah, I
in
can see
there,
that.
it was flickering. I think he's already done that actually, to be honest.
Okay,
The car door hanger and new rollers, yes, that was damaged by somebody in a mobility scooter, reversed
Right.
into it. Which is a bit, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? And then obviously he came out as an emergency call out because of the light flickering.
so we're essentially saying that this is really quite essential maintenance.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't stop the functionality of the lift will still go up and down, but I think the door hanger is something to do with the smoothness of the lift. And I think that is a safety, issue. The light isn't necessarily a safety issue, but.
So.
Are these our usual lift people?
Yeah.
They've installed it, did they not? Or something?
Yeah, and we've stuck with them because the amount of times we've pulled them
Well, I
out
was
in
going to say, the point is
emergency.
that they put it there in the first place and they
Yeah.
really maintain it, so.
And there's lots of times they come out for little things when we've had an issue and they've not charged us, they'll try and negotiate it to be with a service visit,
Yeah,
so
I
we
was
don't
going
do it twice.
to mention that, so I think we can justify the fact it's a single quote in this
Yeah.
instance. So are people happy to accept this quotation? It sounds to me that the work is essential and it needs to be done and quite urgently so. Any comments that people want to raise? In which case, again, if we could approve that, so again, I'm happy to propose it.
I'll second it.
Councillor Clark, seconded, in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. And then the last Fletton House thing is to receive a progress report. Yes, well, that can be very quick. The progress report is there is no progress. After the last meeting, remember we discussed that at the last meeting. I emailed the lady in question, explained to her that I hadn't heard from her, and that if I didn't hear from her before this meeting, I gave her the dates and everything else, then we would move on. And she's not even responded to my email.
Okay.
So the next steps are, the next steps are we're clearly not progressing with that particular application. So realistically, what I'd like us to do is have a short discussion about what we do in terms of returning to making better use of that space. And again, just to remind people, this all came about because we were talking about the toilet and the shower facilities that are down there, and whether or not we put in a shower and change the WC facilities there. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's going to be a nursery, blah, blah, blah. So it clearly looks as though it's not going to be a nursery. We've done everything we can to explore that possibility. It's led to dead ends. So we've got to move on. So I think the question is whether we move back to the original proposal, which was to put in a shower, which could be used both by staff, particularly maintenance staff, etc., and change the toileting arrangements again, which I think will actually benefit Fletton House generally, because there is a general lack of toilet facilities here. Of course, that's only one element, then there's the rest of the space that we would need to think about. But I think what I'm proposing is that we actually return to the original plan that it was, golly, 6 months or so ago now, which is to put in a shower and to reconfigure the toilet arrangements, for which we've already had a quote, have we not? It's probably rather out of date now.
About 3 quotes.
So Lisa, do you want to add to what I just said?
Yeah, just as an update, we've just taken a booking for a regular child messy play type group.
Messy play.
Yeah, which I said to Rebecca, we've just bought new chairs, but they're making arrangements for it and they know what's expected from them. So that's a group that could possibly take
use
off.
that space.
Yeah, so using all of that
Would
space.
they require the toilets as they are?
No, because I did say to them, we were thinking, but I think the configuration we've been looking at was children's toilets out completely, 2 adult toilets and a shower.
Which is,
But I think the idea of a shower, a child's toilet, and an adult's toilet would then cater for any needs that room has.
so, Ian, so I can see that.
No, it's okay. The only other thing is when we had the emergency group meeting in here a week or so ago, it became clear that the information we had in the past about the crucialness of having a shower to become an emergency hub is no longer valid.
Is it not?
Oh,
Really? So the shower it's a nicety, in terms of would they or we be willing to use this place as an emergency hub or control centre or whatever it's be, the showers doesn't seem to be
okay.
a big form of
So we'll go across and move anyway.
potentially. So it seems that maybe, I don't want to kick cans down roads, but we have toilets down there that can be used for children. We have toilets nearby that can be used for adults. And if we see maybe how the next 2 or 3 months go, particularly with the emergency thing, it might be that a hybrid shower, adult, child's toilet is better. Or just 2 toilets or something or other.
Again, I'll welcome comments more generally in a minute, but my initial reaction to that is the more toilets, the better. One of the reasons I say that, and again, I don't want to open up a can of worms, but only yesterday, yet again, I've had this conversation many times, which is people wanting to do things on Fletton Field and saying, oh, and where can people use toilets? And I know this isn't a public convenience for the use of Fletton Field. I just get the feeling that having more toilets here is actually for greater good. Personal view.
Do we have the same toilet? Just that quick.
2, one up here and one down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this.
Firstly, obviously I raised this nursery idea, so it is disappointing, but I'm grateful that we all had an attempt at it. and the messy play thing, maybe it's a better hybrid space that could be used for things. As for the toilets, it's interesting, I noticed the ballet, it was obviously well used, and the girls, or yeah, maybe the boys haven't noticed, go into that one room downstairs and they cram in there to get changed, which is not ideal, personally, because it then takes up. So I do think that if there was a facility that had a changing space and some more rooms, I think it would benefit those users definitely. And then obviously if we have any functions, they can use it, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of room.
Well, even having, I know we don't have that many, but weddings here or other events like that. I just think we've got very few toilets for the number of people that go through the building, I think. So, Val.
Well, over the years, we've lost a lot of time discussing the possibility of changing the facility. And this is an opportunity. I mean, I think you've reminded us, reminded me, because I think probably it would be a good idea at long last.
Yeah.
To provide a bit of changing space.
Yeah. So, Lisa.
Yeah, because what Val's talking about, a bit of history for people that weren't here. I think the plans were actually passed, weren't they? For
Yes, they were.
extension
They were going to add on
kitchen.
to the building.
And there was going to be a changing room for specifically for ballet, and then that didn't happen, did it?
Yeah.
And then I think we were going to dedicate another room for them, and then that didn't happen. So they've just ended up saying
So we
before
lost it.
having to change in toilets, or some of them change in the hut, which we've said to them is not a good idea because it's a public building. So to have a dedicated area.
And a little bit to that, we have over the years had a peeping Tom type situation.
Well, it really relates to
And the
that.
girls were a bit naughty, they
Yeah.
kind of stick their legs up as high as they can get them, and we shouldn't be encouraging that.
Councillor Clark, then try and sum up.
Yeah, if we look at the space downstairs as ours to use, that would give us an office at one end of the building. We've got a storeroom off the cupboard down there, has it got a name? It
The
has.
Benfield room, you mean? Yeah.
So potentially we could use that storeroom, put the stuff in there that we could probably go through, because a lot of it's in the old pub and stuff, put that in the office down there. We could try and make that Benfield room into a changing area. A shower is just something to go wrong. So if we then potentially got one or two other people that quoted us to make the change and say, can you come back and work out the best of the toilets, 1 kids, 2 adults, something like that, and see if we got a price for that. That might end up giving us a good space downstairs, a bit of flexibility, a changing room, and a better storage area. And then we tee everything off in one go.
So, if I could try to sum up, nursery, we tried, but that's not been taken up. Given where we are, particularly in relation to the notion of it being an emergency space, that's slightly changed. So I think what we're proposing or asking you to do, Lisa, is to move forward, partly dusting off things that were talked about some time ago, and going back and looking at reconfiguring the space for a changing / toilet area.
Yeah.
And taking on board the issues that were just raised by Ian about storage and everything else. So, again, I don't know if you want that formally proposed as a way forward. I'm proposing that. That is my proposal. Liz looks as though she's voiced as a question.
Well, it's actually a question. So while you're doing that, is it worth getting somebody to cost fitting out that changing room? Benches and a mirror, because they've got.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think that's part of
Yeah,
what we're
definitely.
proposing. Yeah.
Anyway, and then I'll.
Yeah.
Wouldn't cost a lot from
No. So I think seconded by Councillor Ball. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. So we're now on to maintenance. Consider designs and quotes for the new gate. Yes, well, we do indeed have designs and quotes for the new gate, which I will get up on my machine in a minute. You might want to put them up there, Lisa.
I was hoping to have the information from the chap that you gave me the details
There was
of.
a separate folder, wasn't there?
Yeah,
I'm struggling to open the images though, so you might have to.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't do the EMLs, partly because of the way my machine is configured by the University of Cambridge.
No, I can't open
But I can with the PDF
Right,
files.
these are all the ones.
So
we
you
didn't
might need to
like.
explain to us what's in the
Yeah.
EML files, or either that or open, if you can open them up. I think most people have got the PDFs. They work online, don't they, but not off the computer.
Yeah, I don't think backwards for me, to be honest, half the time.
And in theory, one should be able to open up the EML files. It's just the way because this is a managed university machine, it won't allow certain files to be opened up unless they know the provenance. So that, if you open one, okay, yeah, we can do it that way. In fact, we should be able to get into one. So that's one of them, isn't it?
Okay.
Which, according to, that's column I have.
There's a number on that of £7,630, which is less than £13,500.
I should
Right,
just swap
so-
it out.
It might be easier this if you just talk us through where we are with these, because you've.
Right, well, you didn't like the industrial ones, did you? So, I said to him these were more what we were looking for, something that's
Yeah.
a little bit more classy. I think he's put prices on some of them, yeah. Let me just see if I can see the other ones now. Yeah, things like that. The problem we've got is the site is on a slope.
Yeah,
So it's going to take some building up work and some bits and pieces. They've said it's not, ideal because it's not completely level, but it's all doable. But the one I was waiting for was the chap who you gave me, that did Knee Valley Brewery. He was hoping to get something to me. All of these you didn't like, did you? Because they're too industrial.
Yeah.
I put them in the folder, but
yeah. And we looked previously at,
that's the quote they gave us. I'm just trying to find that metal one that you like the look of.
yeah, we've looked at that before.
That was another one that wasn't too offensive, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So I've showed the ones that you like the look of to that Adrian who
Yeah.
came last week. He took all the measurements. He was out there for quite some time, so he's going to come back with some kind of design. He did ask about the height of it because he said, well, do you want it that low? And we were like, well, we're not entirely sure how much of a security element or risk we've got here. But he still suggested that we went for high.
and that does seem particularly.
That looks low. And what they say is because it's got no backing fill of mesh, people can easily climb over that.
Yeah,
So they said you want something that's a bit more of a deterrent.
so
So I'd be interested to see his take on it, I must admit.
So realistically, we're waiting for yet
Another quote, yeah.
So at this stage, all we can do is say thank you for what we've got thus far.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the.
Well, once you've got the idea for a
I think
bespoke one.
we're gradually narrowing it down,
Yeah.
hopefully. So unless anybody wants to make any comments on all of this, I'm going to move on.
I just thought that one, the lighter one.
Yeah.
Was one of the
Will
least
it be a
expensive.
sliding gate then?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want as big a gate as possible that just slides back on itself. They call it cantilever, don't they?
Okay.
And then the rest will be infill. But they need it as wide as possible for movement, for the
Yeah.
trailers and stuff like that.
Just
So,
wondered.
So
It does swing out.
Yeah.
we're still having a waiting game. Yeah, so
But we're just looking at manual, aren't we, not electric.
Well, we were looking at electric,
Yeah.
but when I spoke to the chaps, they said, why do we need
What's the
electric?
point? Let's go wrong.
Yeah,
It's not as though you're driving up there with a
I know.
zapper in your car, is it?
so, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Well, I think we spent a lot of time on gates. Vehicles. Emma's still looking at information for recommendations to full council. Again, is there anything for us to input into that debate?
Nothing
And
as
it
yet.
seems to me that
No.
it's with the clerk at the moment.
Yeah. And it'll have to, it's another one of those big ones, isn't it? They'll have to go to full council pretty much anyway.
The other thing, and just to point out, you might want to just make an amendment to this. We've got two 20602s. The second one, which is equipment, and again, that seems to be in the hands of the town clerk at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think all we do is note that. Yeah. So moving on to the hub. This is NTR. Are we happy about that? There's nothing else to.
No, there's nothing to report on.
Yeah, we talked about, we talked about toilets, not sure impact on the hub, etc., but otherwise, fine. Courthouse. There are various issues here. The first one, which is 20801, discuss long-term plan for courthouse future leases. We talked last time about setting up a working party to look at longer term options around the courthouse, to do a bit of a detailed analysis about future costs and the impact of those, and make a series of suggestions. We have had an initial meeting, and Lisa, I need to follow up with you on that because we need a number of documents for you to go away. So there's some action coming out of that I'll sit down with you. I've been busy this week and so have you, but we'll find a date in your diary either for later this week, so for me to feed all of that back to you. The other related issue, which in a sense was one of the drivers behind this, or it was related to it, was the new tenant, Diane something or other Murphy, I think, from memory.
Naomi
Dr. Murphy.
Naomi Murphy.
Naomi Murphy, that's it. Who is very keen on taking one of the empty offices. That then led to a protracted email exchange that some of you will have seen about how long we should have leases with with Lisa, the town clerk, the solicitor, Uncle Tom Cobley, and the outcome of that, just to remind people, the normal lease has been 3 years, and we suggested that maybe we should shorten that to either 12 months or 18 months. It now seems that we can issue a shorter lease, should we wish to do so. What is important is that we make a decision tonight about this new tenant, because she's been hanging around very patiently. Do we know, I know you've been in contact with Elisa, do we know whether Dr. Murphy will accept a shorter lease?
She will, yeah, she will. The only thing is, what you have to consider is, it's £650, which the tenant has to pay plus VAT to prepare a lease. So everybody else only has that cost every 3 years, but it means if she takes it on, I've told her that she's responsible for the cost. I will have to say to her that after a year, you will be signing another lease.
I have to say, I never actually understand. That just seems to be about paying solicitors money for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, but the nearest cost to that, or for a local solicitor, their quote was double that price. And if there's anything unusual added to the lease, then it goes up.
So, I don't really wants any more context. In order to push forward the discussion, I propose that we offer the new tenant an 18-month contract.
I'll second that.
So does anybody want to react to that? Sorry?
Say the figure again, it didn't quite get to.
So what I'm proposing is that we offer the new tenant, prospective new tenant, an 18-month contract.
That's what happened.
Yes.
Question, where does the 18 months come from?
Sorry?
Where does the 18 months come from? Because I thought there was discussion between 1
Well,
year or 3 years.
It was on the basis that we're having this ongoing discussion about options for the courthouse. During the first meeting of the working party, one of the things that was spelled out very clearly, we ratepayers of the town, are subsidising any tenant that goes in there. We have to, regardless of the future of the courthouse, whether or not we have tenants in there or not longer term, we're going to have to, I think, propose to full council that they look into this because, I think a number of people feel that it's just not right that we should be accepting tenants on such a basis where we're effectively subsidising their business, or the ratepayers subsidising their business. So the 18 months is so that we're not tied up in a 3-year lease whilst we're reviewing the situation. That's the logic of it.
And has Dr. Murphy been asked about 18 months specifically? Is it
No,
an awkward time?
Yeah, I only offered I only said that we would consider, our usual format is 3 years, but we were considering 12 months. And it was on that basis, she said, well, she didn't mind either, really. The thing is, there is still flexibility in the 3-year lease. You were concerned, weren't you, that if the tenant had impeccable payment record and did everything right, would we struggle to give them notice? But I think if you saw the last email, he still said to us that we have the flexibility to do what we want. The lease is loaded towards our benefit, not tenants.
Because I didn't feel that we ever got a straight answer to that question. So we could break a 3-year lease, even if they're in good standing, to use the.
We haven't obviously have to give reasons. You can't.
And if that really is the case, and I felt that we never got an answer to that, then in theory we could offer a 36-month lease for Ian.
Yeah, I think that was the sort of flavour of the email from the solicitors, but having read the lease that we looked at, I couldn't find what that flexibility was. There seemed to be lots of, if they do this wrong, they do this wrong, but I couldn't see what the flexibility is. The other side of that coin, though, is, whatever we might decide to do with the courthouse, it does feel that we're going to end up with tenancies finishing at different times.
Yeah.
And we have at least one long tenancy, and if potentially we were to look at the property as a whole with all those tenancies in as a commercial viability, actually having tenants is a good thing. So I'm 6, 1.5 dozen.
I think we all are, to be honest, Ian. Val, you wanted to make a comment?
It's usual that you can put a break clause in.
It is, that's how we have them, 3 years with a 1-year break.
So, as long as that was in it, which gives both parties.
So it's a 1-year break clause.
Yeah.
Well, you could say.
Well, if it's a 1 year,
with a break clause.
yes. If it's a 1-year break clause, then it's probably not going to make much difference in 18 months or 36 months. Liz?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So is it possible, I know that you've obviously delved into this, but just to keep me up to speed, if you were going to offer a 12-month, could that then be a rolling contract? So it's a rolling lease
It could
with a
be.
break clause of 3 months either side?
It could be, but as Lisa pointed out earlier on, and again, I have my own personal view about this, we ask the tenant to pay a substantial amount, about £400 to £500, to sign a new lease because the solicitor has to draw it up, even though it's exactly the same as the old lease.
So even if it's on a rolling lease?
Oh, the solicitor still wants their money. I know.
It's a rule.
But then the rent is low rent.
Yeah.
So presumably that's built into the fact that if they have to pay for
Which is
lease.
subsidised.
Yeah, it's a subsidised rent, so it's still probably quite good value if they have to redo the lease after 18
Yeah, it
months.
is. I would have thought.
I mean, I'm of the feeling that we should do 18 months while we have this committee, we look at the courthouse personally.
Well, this is where we all start, we just go
Yeah.
round and round in circles over it. And in fairness to Dr. Murphy, we just really must be positive.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm not prepared for it to continue.
No,
If,
I'm just, the break clause in the agreement we were sent. It says clause 24, the tenant may terminate this lease by serving written notice specifying the break date on the landlord at least 1 month before the break date. A break notice served by the tenant will be of no effect if the break date at that point hasn't paid annual rent, the tenant has not vacated the property. Subject to that clause, the lease shall terminate at the break date. And termination of this lease on the break date shall not affect any right or remedy either party have. So it does seem to be the tenant can break it,
yeah,
but we can't.
yeah, that was my original concern.
And that's the bit that I'm no expert. If the lease terminates in accordance with that, then within 14 days, you get whatever it is back. So it seems to sit with the tenant, but not with us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I've read it, I'm just a teacher, but if I was looking at that as a tenant, I would think that gives me the ability to break, but it doesn't give the landlord the ability to break. But then, yeah, better to have people than not.
So, where are we? Right, I'm going to try and draw this to a close. I'm going to go back to my original proposal, which is that we offer an 18-month lease to the tenant.
I'm certainly second it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And will that still have a break clause in it or not?
It will be the same as the current one.
Yeah.
But, so she has a break clause.
Right.
This is the whole point. As Ian has pointed out, the break clause is very much on the tenant's side, not our side.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. So, I think Jamie has seconded my proposal. All those in favour? That looks like it's carried. Gosh, if all decisions were just as simple as that one. You might apologise also to Dr. Murphy, who's been very patient with us. Apologise that it's taken so long, but we do want to try and support you as best we can. Okay, so we are now on to 20802. Discuss stamp issue, courtyard wall, adjacent neighbour's property. No correspondence from the neighbour, so decide next steps. I would like to suggest that the next steps, I've got an ad calling in. Oh no, it's not an ad, fine.
You've got loads of fruit flies around.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I would like to propose that the next steps are considered by the working party, and it's bound up in that, because it's part of the overall costs that we've got to work out to maintain the property over the coming 12 months. So, Ian.
So I went and looked at the wall yesterday, and I would appreciate someone else going to have a look at it and see if I've made the right judgment on it. But it looks like there are two damp patches that are very clear at the moment. I can't see any. It looks like it's just damp in the wall, and it looks to me as if there's cement mortar in the wall. And from what I know about lime and cement, the cement holds water in, so all the water in the wall will go to those patches and stay wet. And when I went to feel it, some big chunks came out, which looks to me like it's cement mortar that's going to give way quite soon. The only thing is, before we take the step to spend, I think it's £2,000,
Yeah.
we're looking to rake it all out and lime water it, which is a good idea.
Yeah.
There's quite a few plants and trees up the top, whether it's worth us getting those taken out first. I don't know.
So, thank you for that. But so the proposal is from the chair that This is investigated as part of the ongoing working party group, so that we'll look at the issues and the costs associated with it, and that will be part of our recommendations that eventually go forward to full council. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah. Unless the neighbour comes back again,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, we've looked at the work before.
Mhm.
The issue really is the extent to which we actually feel it's the neighbour's liability or our liability, and they won't enter into a discussion with us about it.
Can I just ask when we were last talking to them?
October last year, I
Because
sent an email.
I think the people have moved.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll reopen those discussions as part of the.
So it might be wise, I mean, the present
Yeah,
people
yeah.
may not be.
We'll reopen those discussions as part of the group moving
Yeah, I
forward.
think it's different.
So again, I don't think you need a proposal form on that, no. Okay, let's move on then. Car parks and parking, that's a reference to the open spaces report, which I have in front of me. And I will go down and here we go. So, where are we with these signs to be stored January, February? It is now February.
The ones in Drill.
This is Drillhall, yeah, I'm doing Drillhall first.
They're up.
We are
They're up.
Oh my word.
Well, that's exciting.
I mean, I'll try to pass it. Yes,
No,
yeah, you didn't
they've
know.
they've not long been up. And I think I made a mistake. Did you ask for A3 or A4? I've done them A3, so I've done
That's
them.
fine.
I've got them all laminated and then I thought, oh, I wonder whether I should have done them smaller, but they'll need replacing regularly because as soon as it rains, they
Yeah, it's just something.
get all soggy, so, but yeah, we'll see what the feedback is.
And then where are we, and the other things related to the Drillhall car park is reconfigurating the parking bays and having new lines.
Yeah.
Have we moved forward on that at all?
I've not found somebody yet to come and, I don't really know who to speak to about reconfiguring the space.
Is it, it's a very good question, who are the specialists in this? And is it something that NNC could advise on? I mean,
Yeah,
they
quite
must-
possibly. And the other thing I thought I'd do, I have seen some plans somewhere when we first had the white lines painted, I don't know how long ago, because there was 2 designs done with varying numbers of disabled parking spaces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember finding them, digging
Well,
them
I was
out.
going to say they're virtually non-existent now.
I'm going to dig those out again.
So
There's a
maybe if
name on
you
there.
could inquire with NNC, they
Yeah.
must have their own parking spaces in.
I know when NNC Parking came here, was it about a year ago? They were not particularly forthcoming.
Oh, really?
Levels of help that just said, yeah, it's hard. I think that was my understanding.
Well, you could either try NNC or NCP.
Yeah. Well, I'll dig those plans out first and see if there's a
Yeah, yeah,
name on there of who did the plans for us and maybe
Okay.
approach them.
And then the other thing in relation to Drillhall, and then I'll move on to East Road, is of course the wall. That's hopefully going to be in next year's budget.
We've already got.
So we don't need to think any more about that at the moment. So let's move on to East Road.
Again,
Again,
we say it's in next year's budget. Did it go in the budget or haven't we got 10 grand to spend on car park?
that's true, it's an extra amount, so could we not push that forward?
I think I sent an email, didn't I, with to Emma and copied you.
Yeah, I remember that
See if we could
spreadsheet
use
that I did.
Yeah.
It
Maybe
alludes
check
to
that
another, a separate budget of 10K, which we could spend straight away.
It's there.
So let's try and escalate that, since we've got quotes on the wall anyway.
I'll ask Paul and Emma tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sure I sent them an email and said, is there any movement?
Well, if you could escalate that, that would be very helpful.
It's line 5085.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for reminding us of that, Ian. So now let's move on to East Road. Again, there's the issue of tarmac repairs, but it's more, I think the biggest requirement is actually the white lines. I actually went past that car park, I walked past it twice last week, and I could see cars parking all over the place because they couldn't see the lines. The other issue, and I actually took pictures of them, the vegetation has just got out of hand. Why we can't see to that, I don't know.
Okay.
You know, even if we use external contractors, we can pay for it out of this.
I'll raise that in the,
Sorry.
You discussed before about the general untidiness, the vegetation, but also things being dumped there. I've not been there for a couple of weeks, but when you walk past, was it looking any tidy to it?
It's, what I was referring to the vegetation is, as you walk down whatever that road's called that goes to the garage at the end, the vegetation from the car park that extends out to the road is extending out over the road by a good 2-ish feet in places now. Equally, the vegetation is extending into the car park in places quite substantially as well. Basically, it all just needs trimming back. I wasn't referring to the tree roots, I was referring to somebody coming along with a hedge trimmer and just tidying the whole lot up.
and is that carried out internally with our guys?
Well, do you want to comment, Lisa?
Sort of hit and miss when I asked them to go and do it. I must admit, Tony came back today, been and done a litter pick, because I said to them, are you missing this for some reason? And I think you know, don't you, the bins were in very bad condition, so Northampton removed them. And
Right.
it's another situation where they won't replace them. They're not replacing bins. They did it on West Street, if you remember as well.
Right.
So I was going to email my contacts at Waste and say to him, if we fund a bin, will we still be able to have it collected, or will we then be responsible for emptying it as well?
So if you could do that.
Yeah,
The thing with the vegetation, to my mind, is that we've let it go for so long now, it's become a bigger job. You know, how we just get on top of it.
yeah,
You know, it could have been done every
which is
couple
my
of
point
months or whatever,
always, yeah,
relatively minor. So,
We had it done externally a year ago.
yeah.
yeah, but I think it's probably now we're going to have to pay an external contractor. 'Cause
Well,
it's
Tony was
major
saying,
job.
trying to get the rubbish out of the brambles is
Yeah.
the issue now, because people are just, because there's, I don't know whether it's because there is no bin, they possibly just do it anyway. But he said trying to get the rubbish and the cartons and bits and pieces and bottles that they throw is difficult because it's so overgrown.
Well, I know that it's, the problem, it just escalates.
Just keeping
you know,
on
week
top
by
of
week.
it is what's necessary.
So I think what we're asking you to do, Lisa, is probably get an external, because it's clearly not being done internally. I think we want an external quote to get the whole thing sorted out in.
But is there a matter of, can we do it ourselves? Have we got the tools?
Yeah,
We've got the staff, so can we ask, demand,
yeah.
get done?
Is it our land or highway?
It's most of it's our.
Well, it's not our land, we lease the land.
Yeah, yeah.
It's land
Yes,
which
when
we
we
lease.
use it to use the
So it's
land.
not highways, because it's our responsibility, it's very
Yeah, I
important.
mean, because there are quite a lot
Yeah.
of these little
Yeah.
bits of land where
I think the other
highway
complication,
owned by East
the other
Northampton.
complication is I think that bit of road might be a private road. I think it might be a private road. Don't know. It just is unsightly. It's, you know, just not a good advertisement for the town.
Yeah.
This.
If we're going to cut it, can we make that done kind of quicker, also for the wildlife?
Yeah.
We're having the nesting season still.
We want to do it, as you say, before, within the next month or
So
so,
we want to do it by the next meeting.
Yeah.
and then do it in this year's budget.
Just on that basis, we can paint the lines ourselves as well. If we want to paint the lines in the Drillhall car park, because that's what you said last time they were here, it's our land, we can paint the
Yeah,
lines.
we can do that ourselves, and I don't think we're talking about reconfigurating I'm now going back to East Road. We're not talking about reconfigurating East Road, it's about painting over the lines that are currently there.
Exactly. So and it's,
And you can't hire on machine and,
You can buy the stuff really easily. It's a few £100 to buy the paint to buy that. I've seen
So-
them fill it.
again, we're looking at you, Lisa,
Yeah.
to move all of this forward with some urgency.
Yeah, do we need to, sorry to be dull, but do we need to make a specific statement that we want it done this month?
Okay,
Can't really, because it's not an agenda, it's not a decision agenda, right?
let's go back to my document.
But I can certainly look into it and get prices and okay them with Emma up to a certain amount, and it'll only have to come back to you really if it's over that certain amount.
Yeah, thank you. And then, is there anything more to say about the third car park, the co-op one? We've got car park lights, that's,
Yes,
complaints about potholes.
lots of lights out. Last time I went and walked there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all one side of the
Is that
car park.
us or co-op?
We look after the lights for some reason.
So can we just not,
It's already done, it's already.
yeah, it's already
Yeah.
done, okay.
And the potholes are the co-op's
I was gonna say.
responsibility, and they're.
So we
probably
just
getting quite-
need to remind them of that.
No, I've already spoken to them, they're on it.
Okay, thanks. In which case then, nothing then on co-op. Public toilets, which again is on the report, replace pipe work.
Yeah, that.
Well, that's all been done, has it not?
No, it's for the
No,
next review. It's not dropping to pieces, but we are having issues with it, so at some point soon, sooner rather than later, all of the pipe work, the back work, pipe works for all the urinals and the toilets needs renewing.
So, and what about the hand washer? I thought we could,
They're more on our wish list, aren't they, because the current ones are still working quite adequately.
and also we seem to have spent rather more than the budget at the moment.
That's
So that's gonna-
That's the other hand
That's
drive.
going to get pushed into next year?
Mm.
Yeah, okay. Right, in which case, where are we? Other properties, open spaces update. Rugby, first of all. I thought I reported this at the last meeting. I'm getting confused now. I have met with their solicitor and the representative from the club. I fed back the concerns that were raised at full council before Christmas about, there were various concerns. One was the pepperboard rent. Another was the fact that there were no specifications in their proposed new lease about what they use Clubhouse for and so on and so forth. Cut long story short, they said, yeah, okay. We were expecting some of this feedback. You know, this is a dialogue. We accept what you've said. They're going to go back, provide us with a new draft. Also, the ball is currently in their court. I don't think there's anything more to say on that, but they were very, very responsive. What I also propose is that when we receive the new proposed list, that they might want to come to full council and make a presentation about their aspirations for the club. Because I think that will help members understanding what they want to do with the clubhouse and related facilities. I did also, just for the record, there had been a residents' complaint about parking in St. Peter's Drive, is it, whichever the road is? That's right. Yeah. And I raised that with them. Their response to that was twofold. One, that in the new plans for the redevelopment of the club, they're actually going to have a lot more parking space for a start. And secondly, they are looking at having wardens, which will help police, in inverted commas, you know, some of that. So again, they took that on board. We're very positive about their response. Any questions? No?
Sorry, the only question for me, and I might have misread the agenda, and I know it wasn't at the last meeting, it's something about potentially improving costs.
Oh, yes,
Update we
you
given.
asked, I think, I don't know, it was at full council here, I think it was at full council.
Approved costs, sorry, of what? I'm not sure what.
To value the land. This was something that was asked of Emma, so. it was-
Yeah, sorry, but that's not with us, is it? That's with. the
Well,
park.
Emma said we can, if you want to approve it, then she can move forward with it,
Oh,
otherwise it's
okay.
going to go to full council.
Oh, for
So
some
it's in our
reason-
budget, you see, so,
I thought that had been approved by full council.
I
No?
don't think so, yeah.
Well, if it's requiring us approval, I'm quite sure we can give it. I mean, it's,
So is this the quote for
It's for-
750?
Yeah.
yeah. It's to tie into the leasing arrangements.
Yeah.
So, if the clerk wants us to approve it, I'm happy to propose
I'll
it.
second it.
Ian seconding it. All in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I thought that was already approved by full council. Right, let's move on to 110201, which is the play areas, rec ground, and feedback from Playground Working Group. I know someone's been waiting for this.
I had some of these spare, so I wouldn't mind to read them. So, Rob, you probably had more success than I did. I've cycled past the rec pocket park a few times. I've talked to a few people, one of whom was very clear in his view the money shouldn't be spent on playgrounds, it should be spent on potholes. I pointed out we couldn't spend money on potholes, even muttered and bought off. Everyone else I spoke to, they really appreciate the rec. They like the ideas, they particularly like that they like the sort of, I don't know what these things are, the interactive toy things, they look really good. But the general view was the rec's pretty well spec'd already, and where would you fit some of these things? They also were aware, and there was one group there who'd come from sort of the south side of town, and they thought actually developing St Christopher's play area made a bit more sense given the housing movement. So the general view was supportive, quite happy. They like the turntable, they quite like the bouncy thingy bobs.
Sorry, what's the bouncy thing? This thing?
Yeah, I don't know what these
Snails.
The snail things that walk backwards and forwards.
Snail, is it?
That's a snail.
Oh, that one,
Yeah,
yeah, sorry.
but it was general wibbly wobbly is good, and roundy wobbly is good, but also the rec already has a turntable, just not
Yeah.
accessible. So the general view for the rec was maybe we'd be better focusing on St Christopher's for the time being. So that's my bit done.
And St Christopher's Drive?
Yes, a quick segue then. I've spoken to St Christopher's Drive residents or thereabout. I happen to live there myself. So I spoke to quite a few neighbours who have children. All of them were very interested in us investing in it. They said it's got quite dilapidated. In fact, some of them wanted to go out and paint it themselves because it's got to the estate.
I don't want to paint hard,
Possibly do. So I made a little mood board as in show, which is the elements from the various quotes that we'd had, thinking that a composite element of elements could be helpful. So I did a sort of poll what they liked. The little sort of bopper things with the springs were popular with the younger children.
Not entirely sure what it is, but it looks very nice.
You just spring around on
back
it.
and forth thing, but that's
Yeah, that's
these
probably very good for your license.
multi-purpose. The orange spinny roundabout thing.
It's like some kind of suction.
They got more votes. The roundabouts are popular. The challenge is the groundworks roundabouts will be more extensive. And one of my neighbours pointed out that it's got to break. And in fact, invariably, when you see these things at playgrounds, they often do break. The bearings go inside them. So we actually advised to steer away from that. The seesaw was popular, and then these elements, kind of freestanding, either the jigsaw type mosaics or the music elements.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We've received then feedback from our working party. No, sorry.
One of the elements to mention, we discussed before, currently St Christopher's Drive is fenced off, but it's arbitrarily fenced off, given we own the whole piece of land, and some of these elements, if we're going to invest, might be bigger.
Yeah.
Ian, you had suggested by email last week, we might consider looking at a fencing rearrangement. Such that we can invest meaningfully in the.
Okay.
One other thing to mention is that we get a lot of bird poo on the current swings. So the resident said, well, could we put some spikes on top of the swing set so we could just do it for longer, which was a good idea. That's where we got feedback, lots of encouragement, and actually enthusiasm that the town is looking to invest in that park, given the changing demographic and the number of houses being built.
Well, thank you both for the work that you've done on this. I think what we'd all like to know is whether we're now in a position where we can formally propose something, or do you want more? What's your recommendations in terms of moving forward?
I think we have a £5,000 pot.
Yeah.
Line 5131,
We do.
recreation around youth activities.
We do.
That will run out in March. I think we have Ace and Christmas Drive R&N at £1,000 by 150. We've already said we like the idea of that bucket swing, which was about 1,000, as I recall. So it seems that the fencing might be the most important thing to get sorted quickly. So I suppose the question is, do we grab a couple of bits of play kit and put them in with what we've got and hope we can expand, or do we expand, which seems the smart thing to do, but then we just have a large area of grass in the fence. So I suppose that's the question. We don't know how much the fencing might cost.
Another question is how much does the fencing cost, and the 5k that's sitting there has to be spent this year. Can that be ruled?
I think we can predicate it and say,
To be
we plan to spend that, particularly if we think something is on course. So it seems the most sensible thing is to get a firm quote to extend the fencing the back towards Prince William. Maybe keep the same curtilage at the front and go backwards.
I think it's quite critical that we are seen to start the process, even though some of the spend may be rolled over. It'll be easier to roll it over if the process is underway. So, do you want to make a formal proposal between you about how we're going to do that, based on your recommendations?
Yeah, so Rob, do we fencing first? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. And perhaps at the same time, we could look before the end of the year to do the bucket swing and start painting what we've got already. So at least there is forward momentum. So that's a big proposal.
So that's the proposal. I assume you will second that.
Yes.
Are we all happy to accept that proposal?
Yeah.
I assume we are. Thank you very much. Thank you again for the extra work that you've done. And allowing us to get to a decision. It's taken a long time. It's been well worth it. So, gosh, where are we now? On, I believe, 2/11/02/02. This is a request from a new owner of a single garage adjacent to the rec ground. Owner has requested OTC install a small retaining wall or curvages to prevent the build-up of soil that has just been cleared away from his garage. There is a plan I remember seeing. No, that's not, it's somewhere here. Yeah, don't worry, I'll find it here. I'll get it there eventually. Here we go. It's on a file called New Road Garage Location. Surprising. And you'll see, oh, there it is. It's it doesn't show up there very well. On my bit, it's got orange bits at the end.
Yeah, this is the other.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's what I was looking at. Just so you can see the area that is being talked about. Lisa, is there anything more to say on this?
I'll show you the picture that I,
So can I just get this clear? So there's already a garage wall.
Yes.
He's asking us to build another wall.
Well, this is what I'm just slightly confused about.
So the garage was NNC's. There's been disused for years.
Yeah.
It's sort of prefab concrete.
okay,
And I think over that time of disuse, I imagine stuff's grown up on the side. So what, I'm not quite sure. if
There's a picture.
I knew there's some pictures to it as well.
So he excavated all this, dumped it on here. There was loads of rubbish, lots of brambles. So I met him down there with maintenance, and he asked if they would help clear the stuff away, which they've done. They did straight away. But what it's revealed is these old curb edges, which we think were probably installed at some time in the past to prevent the soil spill and build up against his wall. So what he's asking is, some of these can be reused. He's asking if we will just reinstate these curb edges along here to create like a void, so any soil build-up or anything that happens.
Yeah, so it's not a wall as such, it's a barrier.
No, he just wants a barrier, like a trench, like a moat really, around his garage to stop damp issues. We cut this tree down here, but obviously it's quite a costly affair to grind it all out. So the tree surgeon said, we'll cut it down, poison it, it should stop any problems. I mean, from the pictures internally of his garage, I couldn't see any cracks or any issues that the tree was causing, but it was not a very good tree anyway, so we've cut that down. But he's just asking essentially if we can reinstate what looks like was there a long time ago.
Because he's turning the new site into a private residence, isn't he?
He keeps his classic car in there.
it's actually being used, it's got lights.
It's got solar in it.
Well, irrespective of the use, that's the boundary. Obviously, the soil side is our responsibility. I think it's a reasonable request. I mean, can we not just get a quotation and then make a judgment based on
Well, to be fair, when I spoke to the chaps, they said that is something they can do. We might have to order some more new curbstones, but I should imagine it'd be a relatively small cost.
That was just a question. It looks like it's within our ability to get some curbs down. In which case, let's just go for it.
I think my question is that really going to stop the damp?
It'll stop the build of the soil. The soil was right up here.
Okay, but could you not put a French draining next to it or something? Could you not have
That'd probably
something
be more
to drain the
expensive.
water?
There's also a chance it might knock the foundation out from a garage.
I just find it a bit odd that you just put a few curbstones and that's going
It
to
seems to me
the
that
damp.
his concern is not about water build-up, it's actually to do with roots and trees and things like that. And I think if we could build a trench there and essentially create, as you said, it's really about having a barrier. Then I think we could probably do that quite cheaply and effectively. So if you could investigate that and come back with a firm proposal, then we'll consider it then. Okay, let's move on. So we're now on to other green spaces. The first of which is this again, pedestrian walkway that has been suggested by a member of the public. There is a letter or email concerning this, which I seem to remember reading earlier on. I'll try and find it. And there's also, no, it's not that one. Where is it? Here we go. It's called Walkway Request for Pedestrian. So you've seen the letter. This is about having a walkway between Red Kite Drive and Old School Avenue and Sutton Road Street, St Christopher's Drive, which again, you've got the map down there. It's sort of not quite the back of the co-op, it's a bit further down, isn't it? Goes off. Where are we? We're talking the same.
Yes, it's been Kite Drive where there's a playground. And then links onto the back of the Christmas.
So there's pathways there already, aren't there? It's just the link to the newer part of the area to the older part.
Currently it's a wall, so that's the estate from.
I'm happy to take questions, but my initial question is this something we can do anyway, because we presumably don't own any of the property?
But that's his request, isn't it? Are we interested in I saw him talking to the owners.
Yeah, we can broker a conversation, but I don't think we can do much more than that, can we? Why have I misunderstood it?
Well, he's got a letter from 2022 saying if Arundel Town Council would wish to put an offer forward for the strip of land in question, we can consider the matter further. So they look like they're open to it, but we've never seen it before until last week. So, and then he says in his letter, he's actually going to talk to us, and if runners are willing, he can talk to directors of the HLMC to get views on the plant being built. So he sounds like he's willing to be a broker to do some of the legwork. And it feels like, particularly if we're going to invest in that playground, there's a synergy in us opening it up to as many people as possible.
So, again, I think all we are is a broker in all of this. I don't think we're more than that, but I think it's worth us maybe trying to investigate it, but see if we can bash some heads together and make it happen. I don't think our role is anything more than that.
Do we think it should?
Sorry, you don't think we should?
No, I didn't say that. I said, do we think it should?
That's what
Have
I'm
we
asking.
thought it through
That's what I'm
and
asking.
decided? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
So the concern from Emma at full council was that if we bought that strip of land, it became part of our estate, an additional area to then manage. And that's not the concern, and it adds on to the list of estate areas.
It's not clear to me without having, because we're not the owners. I don't know whether it would actually then fall under our responsibility or not, or this seems to be rather downstream. I mean, I don't know how to I don't want to prejudge the situation, but it's not in our gift to do anything as far as I can see. Yeah.
Well, I think he's asking if we want to sort of come to the table and talk about that.
Yeah,
That's it. And it seems there's no constraints, there's no commitment. It seems talking to him and talking to the other two parties seems
And that's what I meant by broker, you know. But
I think we'd be more than a broker in the end.
yeah,
But essentially, he wants us to buy it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and look after
yeah, but that's the original thing. Sorry, maybe I'm using the broker term out of context. Is we've got to have discussions, and discussions not with this individual Andrew Grant, but also possibly with the owners, etc., etc. Because there is no formal, but there's an idea, and I don't think people are anti the idea, but how we actually make it work and carry it forward is another issue entirely.
Well, I think what you need to do is have a vote on whether you think, as the States Committee, you want to take the idea forward. Then
I mean,
we can arrange a meeting and then.
Without wishing to commit to extra work, I'm more than happy to have a discussion with Mr. Grant in the first instance. So in that sense, I'm not sure there's much to discuss.
There's no harm in having a discussion with Mr.
Either Ian or myself, or we can both meet with Mr. Grant and have a discussion with him and then feed back and resolve that conversation.
Next time, yeah.
I think realistically, there's nothing more to discuss than that.
That seems the best way forward.
So is that the action? That's the next step? And then we'll decide who. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I lost the clock now, where are we? So that's that was 11:03:01, so 2:11:03:02. Consider recently cleared area behind the basketball court. And reconsider how much of the space will be dedicated to wildflowers. And again, we've got some pictures of this.
Oh, there might be more than a picture.
Yeah, the reason I put this in is because obviously Tony's just cleared it.
Yeah.
And he said, he came up and he said, is the whole area going to be wildflower? I said, well, I don't know. I said, we've discussed various options. He said, because it is a massive area. So if I can find Ian's, did I put it in Teams?
Yeah, that's the picture I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It's a high quality diagram.
What did you call it, Ian? I can't remember.
Recreation.
Got it.
Just be aware that
Very
I'm
good
a
visual.
historian, not a geographer.
It's an excellent visual, I think.
Yeah, we've got that.
I've chosen the colours well.
Yeah,
I wasn't cold when I was doing it.
You're not a cartographer, are you?
So, just to touch base, if I may, at the moment, having had a relatively positive experience planting a few fruit trees on Sunday, we have a large number left. And one of the issues is where do we put them? And I know I've been banging around about this for a while, but now the area is being cleaned, there's lots of people walking through that area from the basketball court to the junction of the footpath. It's the way I go to school each day, so I see a lot of people walking through. And I suddenly thought, if we put the pink is path, could be tarmac, could be something else, but path. And that was to go straight off the end of the basketball court in the sort of northwest there, down towards the crossroads, if you want, in the right. Can I say that? Pointer.
Yeah, no point.
So if that was a path,
Teacher mode.
oh, this is pretty much more exciting. If there was a path from there to there, and then you had the normal rec area there, if we put, I think we've got 11 or 12 apple and pear trees mainly left. If we put them down the side of it, and then that area around there was the area we put wildflower seeds in, you then have a nice border, it's a nice path, but you're still not taking up the whole of that area. I was talking to someone at the school today, he's still happy, he's the guy in charge of their wildflowers. He's still happy to see if they can come down and rotate the area we need. We can plant the trees, we can put the wildflower seed in. I think we've got a source for seed that could be free. And we could mark out where we want the path and do this, hopefully in March, if there's not any more rain. And then we'll do the path later.
I'm going to join you on here. So, just again, partly because my own confusion, were we not originally considering
Yeah.
this area up here?
What's for wildflower?
Yeah, for wildflowers.
I think it was mainly the Anglia water.
Was
It
it?
was mainly the
Is that not where it was down here?
Yeah, that's the area that's been cleared now.
So what we're doing is saying, so much of the original space, which is the Anglia water bit, will go back to grass, and we're now concentrating on that strip.
Yeah, which is still a lot of land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still lots of wildflowers, nice community orchard trees all along there. We could call it Coronation Way or Coronation Community Avenue or whatever.
King Charles Avenue.
King Charles Avenue. But it also provides a nice sort of bit of safety. I know now you've raised concerns about the safety of people walking up and down that path, so it wouldn't be particularly dense with apple trees, except we could keep them small.
Without wishing to overly complicate the scheme, would one want to embed some lights along the side of the path?
Could do. Yeah, we could do.
For nighttime walking.
Yeah.
In the ground, that would be quite cool.
Yeah, those little underlit ones, because we must have electricity going to that street lamp.
Well, that's the whole
Yeah.
point.
On that corner there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So how do we, I think, I'm looking around and seeing some positive faces, nods of heads. How do we then move this proposal forward? Because we've got the trees.
We've got the trees.
We've talked about the path already.
We might have the seed. We've got someone who's willing to rotate, so we could line out a path, a broad area of path, put the trees and the flowers in now, in the next month or two, and then do the path over the summer. And it maybe also links up to doing the path in flat fields, whether we get the same contractors in, get quotes. And then by the end of the summer, we could all be done.
So in terms of costs and budget, I think if I read you correctly, wilding and planting trees in your yellow area
That's my wildflower area.
is almost cost neutral.
Free.
Pretty well, yeah, okay. And then the path comes into next year's budget.
All comes out of reserves.
Or
Which
reserves,
we talked about in the past, yeah. Because it's something that is to the benefit of this area.
Do we need to go for council to get approval, given that this is changing rec, or is that within our remit? Partly looking at you, Lisa.
Well, yeah, you possibly would need to just get the okay from
I think
everyone. It's
just,
quite
I
a
think it would
decision.
be worthwhile just to say, can we slip it into the next full council meeting and say, we are proposing to do this,
Yes,
are there any objection?
And they'll be prepared for it because you've been talking about the wildflower,
Oh, yeah,
the
but I
trees
think,
and everything for quite some time.
I think it would be better that before we just motor ahead and do it, and then some of our fellow councillors say, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
I'll get some quotes for the pathway from the same contractor and the other ones that I'm going to
Yeah,
pass to quote.
Sorry, just on the pathway, I know you talked about tarmacking, can we look at something that's a little nicer, that is more natural? Because they're so ugly.
We only looked at tarmac because it was available. 18,000 was the price for tarmac.
It's so expensive.
I'm going to take some pictures of paths in Cambridge, because they have some, they've really thought through the way they do some of their paths in public spaces.
Absolutely.
Including now, you barely see a path without lights
Yeah.
for evening walking.
Would they be embedded?
Embedded.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think there's anything to decide. We're just saying that the proposal,
I'll just ask
a
Emma to
fleshed out
put it on.
proposal will go to full council as soon as possible. Thank you for that. Let's go back to the agenda. Flettenfield pathway, consider advice and quotes to improve the pathway linking Glatholm Road to Flettenfield. I don't remember seeing quotes on this.
Oh, yes, it was only coming. I think I just slipped.
Was that is this the one from Howard David?
No.
No, it's
This one, I slipped, it only came in yesterday, and
Oh, that
it
might
was
be
slipped
why
in the
I've
folder
seen it.
yesterday. So this is just the first quote. So, and it was based on what you said,
Yeah,
scrape
yeah.
the ground away, certain amount of hardcore, and then top, gravel. So this is what he's quoted. I then spoke to another contractor who said, because you've not got anything other than football going over it, if it's fairly level already, you could level it, weed barrier it, and put the top coats on, keep just whackering it down,
Yeah.
because it's in a contained area,
Yeah,
it's not going to spill out everywhere else. And then just top it up
Yeah.
as it's needed, kind of, as it compacts down.
Which
He
is
also
slightly cheaper
suggested
option.
not the normal gravel that you see that's always spilling out over the road and into
No, no.
highways and everything. There's, they're called Cotswold chippings, and they look nice, but they're quite rough.
Yeah,
So they interlock.
the Angus, so
Yeah,
actually bed in.
That's it, and they don't move around, you don't get so much spillage.
I know exactly what you mean. They
So-
used a lot again in Cambridge for various reasons.
So, and they look really nice as well. I spoke then back to this chap and said, look, I know you've given me a quote for exactly what I asked you to do, but somebody else has suggested this, would you say? And he said, yeah, that would work. He said, if it's fairly level.
Well, I think at this
and
stage,
that
all we
would
do
be
is ask you to do is to pursue that.
Yeah,
And then again, I assume this is going to have to go to full council because,
it's the Flettenfield side
yeah,
of it, isn't it? So,
precisely.
yeah.
So,
I know we've got.
but there's a separate budget for it anyway, is there not?
Just two things. One is, whatever we put down, I think needs to be pushchair,
Yeah,
wheelchair accessible, and is gravel that's suitable?
as long as it's not
It's-
too deep. If it's compacted and not too deep, then it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think we're using gravel and probably, this is not like
So it's like
trying to push things over.
Yeah.
It will be a hard
It's just
thing.
got pea gravel on there, which works.
Yeah, no, that's not, because you don't
It's
want
20 lots, not great. And just on that basis, the whacking thing, who owns the fences? Because if we're putting a layer of ground up against the fences, are we
I think we were going to try and keep it
with it?
6 inches away from each
that they would
place.
bring in and essentially create a false border,
Yeah,
and so you whack it in there.
because I did say to him as well, if we left a space of about 6 inches, because we could see some foxgloves and various wildflowers coming
Yeah.
up, so we thought that would be quite nice to add to that as well.
Yeah,
That would be quite a nice corridor if it was nice and neat with a few wildflowers popping up here
and
and
it would
there.
be a kind of Cotswold colour.
Yeah,
which
it's
would
called
be
Cotswold, but I'll have to take some pictures, I've seen it, so.
And then the second thing on timescale is if we're still sort of rotating around that idea of opening on May the 8th.
Yeah.
With the combination of the seeing if the Lord Lieutenancy can send someone. Obviously, if he's got shiny shoes walking up there, go on, path, so can we get it done by May the 8th?
Yeah, this one chap, he said because
If we could get our status on, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, okay.
I think you've got a very clear idea of the vision. So thank you for that, Lisa. I think we have decided next steps, sorry.
I was going to say, do we need to recommend something so that at full council, if the right.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to try and get it onto a full council agenda so that we can get it done by May.
Recommend that we just go
Right. I'm conscious it's 20 to 8 and we've still got another page worth of agenda yet. So, this is again Fletton Field, consider wording for signage. Realistically, there's nothing for us to decide yet. I mean, that's when we have the Fletton Field group.
You still hammering it out there?
It'll come out, we'll hammer it out there, it'll come back here, so.
Okay.
But again, we want it done by May. So that's, should we just say it's in hand?
Yeah.
I don't know when the next, do we have a date for that? Off the top of your head, you know when it is, don't worry.
I
We'll talk
don't
about it later.
think I've heard from Tony about the next.
But essentially it's for me, I think, to put a proposal to them, we'll flesh it out and it'll come back here.
Okay.
Okay, good. 21105, other OTC assets within the community. I don't think there's anything to discuss there. So the next one is 06, which is the War Memorial. There has been some correspondence on that, which we should take into account, and also thank Ian for essentially putting this together. I remember, so where is it now? Can't see it.
It's up there.
Oh, it's up there, yes. So the key things are highlighted in yellow. Basically, it's saying, don't do anything, monitor the situation. So I think we just don't do anything to monitor the situation, take regular photographs.
Yeah, the only thing to do is that idea of the maintenance plan and condition checks, and whether there are interested parties, I know, who think it should be looked after better, whether we engage with them and say, help us do this, and explain why we're not doing anything, because we're being told not to do.
So the only, as you remember, I said before that I would correspond with the resident that brought this to our attention. All I'm asking is, are we happy that, well, essentially it's on the website now anyway, so I can share this with the individuals. Yeah, happy for that.
Yeah.
In which case, I don't think there's anything more for us to discuss on that. Agreed. Pollinator, nothing there. Greenwell project, nothing there. We're on to trees. Oh God, I've got a picture of Donald Trump in front of me. That's a horrible thing. We've got a tree. Let's close that down. Trees. Get there in a minute. Flattened field. Here we go. Trees. Consideration this month. So, concerns about trees on Rockingham Hills and Sydenham's Close. That's all sorted out.
Yeah.
Another tree on Rockingham's Hills split in two during last high winds, and surgery suggested reduce the make safe to around 6 foot, blah, 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 blah. That's presumably Emma approved as resurgent.
Yeah.
So again, that's just drawing it to our attention. That's nothing required there. St. Peter's.
Just on the trees, it's.
Do we want to raise the other tree issue? Sorry, there is another tree issue.
Ian
It's just a
suggested a
cemetery.
response to them, so it's just, that's the letter of complaint about the trees that we planted on Sunday. And
Yeah.
obviously, I don't know what you saw Ian's email, it was suggested.
So, yes, sorry, this is a letter that's been circulated from a resident. I'm sure you've all had the opportunity to read it. The concern is twofold. One is that the tree roots may damage, particularly the property wall. The other concern is one of spoiling views. I don't think we can realistically do anything about the second, but we should, as the owner of the property, be aware of any potential damage the trees might do. It's a long letter. I don't know. I'm happy to take comments and questions. My memory of having read the letter before the meeting is that they would like to come to the estates meeting and discuss it. Maybe we should just simply ask them to do that, or again, maybe I or another member of the committee should meet them in the first instance. Happy to hear views, comments.
It would be good to see photos of this location, so it might be better to meet on site rather than here if we were going to meet.
Meet them on site.
Yeah. Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, I see that.
Right, let me just find your email.
So just here, the background to this, please.
Mm.
Yeah, so we took some down, Clive and I talked about putting up to 10 in that area. We spoke to, I think he's the present owner of the building who's selling it. He has had that experience, so there are quite a lot of trees there already along this area. And on the basis of his concerns, we didn't put any along the fence for this property. So there's none along the section that he seems particularly concerned by. So in my suggested reply, I suggested hiding our since I've spoken to either him or his son, I'm not sure which, on Sunday and said, we're not going to put trees where you're worried about, and I'm happy to meet you on the side, talk through.
So I think in the email they asked about moving the three that you planted.
And
They did. They seem to want the trees that have already been planted to be moved.
Mm-hmm. So that's them with their stakes. They're small apple trees, they're heritage ones. That big thing on the right hand side is a dead tree surrounded by ivy.
Yeah,
it's here.
which was there. And is there property that house that we see?
No, it's down to what, it's behind
Is
us.
it the one near the front? Right,
Yeah.
front.
Absolutely.
So there's nowhere there is.
No, we made sure we stayed clear of where he said he would.
There's no houses in between there, is there?
Right, there's a garage sort of down to my right here, and then there's a garden.
I'm kind of conscious of time, and we're not quite finished yet. Might I suggest, if you're willing, that given that you and Clive put them there in the first place, that you might meet the person on site and discuss it and then report back. I think let's have that dialogue.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And given that, you and Clive clearly thought that this was appropriate, justify that to the owner.
Yeah, and NNC and the Stag, Yorkshire thought this appropriate.
So are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Ian's happy with that?
Yeah.
Let's move forward then. Sorry, so I'm now back to St. Peter's Church, but I don't think we've got a new gate, which is great. I think there were some pictures, there were some emails with pictures of the new gate. I said, well, not applied here.
So they're all over the place. I don't know what's
Otherwise, where are we? With St. Peter's. Flagstones pointing, new wall. We talked about the path and everything else there before. Anissa, where are we?
Sorry,
Peter's Church.
with the repointing the flagstones.
Yeah.
I haven't got anyone in to look at it yet.
Well, it was the tarmac, wasn't it, on the north side?
It's not.
Yeah.
Flagstones is one part of it, but it's on the north side. It's not flagstones. It's
Yeah. Okay.
So if we could escalate that, that would be helpful. I don't think there's anything other to discuss there now.
There was just the thing about a meeting about car parking.
Oh, yeah, you can car that parks there.
He's off sick at the moment. We arranged a time that we could meet, and then I got an email saying he was off sick and he'd contact us when he was back, so I'll chase
So
that.
you're dealing with that?
Emma and I are supposed to be
You're
meeting
dealing
with
with
him, yeah.
okay. They sent in the A-team. Good. Why is there these flies everywhere?
Well, Emma and I spent first part of the
All these
afternoon
fruit
searching
trees
for
that
an
we've
apple
planted.
core in a bin somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Right, cemetery, well, we've talked about cemetery already in relation to trees. Anything else that we need to talk about in relation to cemetery? We've got this issue about the railings, that's been put on hold.
Yeah.
And the pathways.
Yeah, the only thing to discuss on here is Ian's email about the dead wood
Yeah,
and the offer for the
Which
stuff to
is-
be taken away
yeah.
free of charge.
Yeah, I went down on Saturday and I saw the community payback team in action. I went to thank them, and one of the guys said, "Are you enjoying it?" He said, "As much as we can," which I thought was a fair response. Some cheery bloke walking out saying, "Hi." The supervisor said, "We're not quite sure what's doing with all this wood. It's stacking up against the wall," and he said, "You know, someone that takes all the wood away, branches and stuff to burn. He's an ex-policeman." I said, "I've raised it tonight. It seems like a bit of a no-brainer. It'll take away." The community team are in this Saturday coming and the following Saturday. So if he was able to get in at the same time, at least he'd be supervised by them. So I'm happy to email them and just say, "Tucky, you go if you like," if that's all right.
Okay, so nothing to actually decide on that?
No, I think it just seems like a win.
Okay, and then it also about meeting with chapel residents, that's happened, or that will
Not
happen?
yet, no, not
That
yet.
will happen then.
It will, yeah.
Okay, so we'll hear back on that when it's happened. Jones Strong, well, we talked about the boundary fence there, golly, for months now, 7 months, at least 8 months. Are we actually, so the town clerk has now approved the purchase or hire of a paint
Yeah, we're
sprayer.
gonna look into hiring one in when the weather improves.
And they're going to do it once the weather improves.
Yeah.
Good, because it's an eyesore, so nothing for us to talk about there. Marketplaces, just to remind people, we have quite a big budget that we could be spending. Wonder Circus visit, it says, from the end of this month to early April. What is there to consider in relation to that?
They've
That's just
been,
down event, that's
Yeah.
on the rec presumably.
they've been before, and
Yeah.
all we do is they ask our permission if they can stand and they're the dates they want to come from, Sunday the 30th of March to Sunday the
So have we
6th.
got a formal request, or is it,
An email, yeah, same as she normally does, she just specifies
again,
it.
I didn't see the email, it may be
I
that
probably
it's the
didn't put it in
email.
there. If it's not got any content other than what I put in
Oh,
the
okay.
thing, I don't bother telling you.
Ian,
If they do come then, there's a chance that's about the time that wildflower seeds will be going down. So if could we just say we approve if we do on the proviso that the area that we might mark off with tape or something
Yeah.
is.
yeah, we could.
Well, to be fair, when they attended last time, I think, had it just been,
It was all in water,
I
but
think it was all taken over, yeah.
there have been fences.
They've definitely been before, and I think there were certain areas we said to them, you
Yeah,
can to use, so, yeah, but they've been before and there was no issues at all with how they left the wreck. And we normally always do it with the proviso that as long as it's not too wet, if the weather's too wet, then we can't let them
Yeah,
go.
absolutely, so we approve it on all of the bases.
Same
that we've
basis, yeah.
done before. Again, do you need us to formally?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if one of you propose.
So I propose that
Yeah.
we accept their proposal on the proviso that we notice the wildflower area.
Carl's waving at me now.
As obviously.
Didn't know I seconded it.
Yeah. Okay, environmental flood issues.
Amazingly,
There's
nothing to
nothing to
report.
report there as far as I can tell. Street lights, again, nothing to report. Energy, well, town CCTV, nothing to report. Energy EV charging update, if any. Well, we've talked already about solar installation at Fletton House. Ian, any movement on chargers?
No, I think it depends on our new contract, which will come in May, June, with the balancing thing charge that Jerry got excited about, which scared me.
So we just keep that on the agenda for further news. Other general maintenance issues. And again, if we look, it just says here, gullies and guttering clearing schedule now on maintenance list. So that's essentially what it says there. It will now get done as part of the general maintenance.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Sorry.
I don't have a question. Does having a maintenance team here work? Is that going well?
Yeah.
Hope so, after all the effort.
Yeah. Can't really
Right,
say I
in
don't
which
know, we
case-
don't want to be here anymore, can I?
Any other business report only? Ian, did you want to say about trees on your garden? You raised it in emails.
Yeah, there's a tree on our hedge, which I hadn't even noticed until a neighbour pointed out. And the only question is, it's on the rugby club land.
Yeah.
I presume it's part of their lease. But I don't know
So is it their responsibility?
That was the question.
Well, I think last time we had an issue with the tree up that end, we did it, didn't we?
Which is now a tree that this tree claim is theirs, even though they might say it's not theirs. It's all very good down our way.
Might we suggest that the resident take it up with the rugby club?
Very happy to, yeah.
But it's outside your garden, isn't it? So it's up to us.
Well, half of the
really
bit is now inside the garden.
Yeah.
But on an apple tree, ironically. So do you want me to contact the rugby club? See what they say.
Can do, can't you? Yeah.
Contact the rugby club in the first instance, see whether or not they think it's our responsibility or theirs. Okay. Jamie, any other business? Any other business? No, in which case then, sorry it's been quite a long meeting, but we have an awful lot to get through. And we have made some, I think, important decisions. So, thank you for that. Meeting is closed at 7:56.
Yeah.